Hello, thank you for joining me today on the how-to webinar on cybersecurity. Today I'll be talking on tips to help protect your business. I am Rob Wilson and I'm an associate in cybersecurity and forensic technology. First up is the standard disclaimer. This is our opinion only and accept no responsibility for any form of liability or reliance upon the use of this content. Again, I am Rob Wilson. So I lead cybersecurity. I'm also in forensics technology here in Vincents. I've been in cybersecurity for about 15 years, been in information technology for about 20. Everything cybersecurity, awareness, compliance, disaster recovery, business continuity, training, risk management, computer forensics, you name it. I've seen a lot of things in the last 15 years. I've worked for two of the big four firms. I have my CISSP, CISM, and ITIL. So the leading security certifications, and contact details are there if you want to get in touch. The agenda for today, we'll be chatting about, first up, the myth number 1 and 5 security functions. Then we will go through myth number 2 and then some people, process, and technology considerations. Myth number 3, then types of data to protect. So that's at rest, in motion, and in use. And we'll talk about some third-party risk management, supply chain, and vendors risk. Then we'll go through a quick case study at the end. Just kind of put it all together. All right, 5 security functions. So myth number 1, information security is all about protecting data. It is true, but there's more to just protecting data itself. What we need to do is identify the data, the type of data. Preferably you have classification. So this will be differentiate pictures or personal information, proprietary information, trade secrets. You need to identify the data itself that you want to protect and how you protect it. A lot of organizations, what they do is they have one big bucket and all the data goes in and they protect the data all the same. So in this category of identification, asset management, business environment, governance, and risk. So you're looking at what is critical for to protect regulatory data, health information, financial data. Those are all really critical, top of the list. You should protect those differently than public information or things that are wouldn't hurt if they got out into the wild. So first category, identify. Protect is pretty straightforward. In the protect category, this is access control, awareness and training, process, procedures. This is where the technology comes in. So you have gateways, firewalls, VPNs, encryption, all those types of things. You have your lock on the door. You have your physical protection. So obviously it's the biggest category. It's the most important because yes, you do want to protect your data, but there's a lot more to information security than just the protective controls. One common saying is if you can't protect your data, you want to be able to detect anything that's going on with it. Just as you have a lock on the front door of your house, that's to protect yourself and everyone inside. Detection would be potentially a camera. So if someone did break into your house, they got past your protective control, then you want to get into the detective measures. So with this category, security monitoring, detection processes, anything abnormal behavior. So if you have a baseline saying here's the normal behavior of an environment, and then detective controls will be able to potentially alert you with any abnormal behaviors. So that's a very, very important control. Next on the list is the respond category. So this is response planning, communication, mitigation improvements. So if someone gets past your protective and detective controls and you actually have a breach or you have an incident, how do you respond? Again, very critical. I've actually heard one high-level exec in my career say that he would much rather have the capability around response and recovery over protective if you had to choose one. Because if you can protect well and detect, but you have a bad day and you can't respond or recover, everything goes out the window. So response to an incident and recovery to an incident is just as important. We chat a bit about response, recovery. So this is recovery planning, improvements, communication. For example, if you have a breach, incident, IT, the technical folks are looking at how to resolve whatever it may be. You have the media potentially emailing you, knocking on your door, executives asking what's going on. So there needs to be a communication plan. It's just as important, especially if you're a large organization. A recovery plan and communication plan is critical. So if you can respond well, but you can't communicate what you're doing well, it's just as bad. So putting those all together, identify, protect, detect, respond, recover. Those actually come from NIST. It's a framework, very common. I would say industry standard. Again, so it's just showing you in information security, yes, protecting data is critical, but you need to identify your data. You need to detect what's going on with your data. If your data, has ransomware, or someone steals it, or it gets released into the wild, you need to be able to respond and recover to those incidents. With that, what I'm going to try to do is go through our first poll question. So I'll get those going. And the first poll would be, what are the top cyber risks? We'll give a couple of minutes if you want to choose what you think is the correct answer from our list. We'll give you some time. Go through there. Feel free to click. Getting some response. Good responses. Interesting to see. I think we'll end it soon. All right. I think we'll end the poll there. All right. So mostly around phishing and ransomware. So that is the correct answer. That's depends on who you talk with. That's what I would select would be the phishing and ransomware. Critical. Those are the industry top threats. Obviously, they go hand in hand with ransomware. You need phishing. Those are by far the top. Insider threat, very critical. That is partly correct because that actually goes along. So if you look at the insider threat, someone clicking on the email, so that's a accidental insider threat, and so that kind of goes hand in hand with the phishing and ransomware. So the insider threat is not wrong. It actually is needed for the phishing and ransomware. And then we got two separate of just phishing and ransomware. I think all good answers. Everyone kind of walked away with a win on that one. The ones that we did not have any response to are hacking and data leakage. So those were not the ones that we're looking for. So we got a good group here. With that, we will move on to our people, process, and technology. All right, so myth number 2, information security is all about technology. So yes, there's mostly technology, but you do need people and process along with technology. So with people, these are your frontline staff, executives, what's considered your first line of defense. These are with your staff, you want to drill in. If you see something, say something. So a lot of times your staff will be working away. They may see abnormal email, or they'll see something strange, someone new in the organization doing something, potentially in the back closet, not sure what's going on. They'll assume that's intended. So you want to really drill in with your staff that if they do see anything abnormal, really speak up and say something. This goes along with, if they see a phishing email, they may say, hey, this looks like phishing, good on me, pat on the back. I've lived to see another day. But what they don't think of is the other 10 employees in your organization that may have also received the phishing email. One of those may have clicked on it. So if they didn't say anything and someone else clicks on it, then that's where the risk comes out and no one reports it, and then you have a breach. Whereas, person number 1 actually spoke up and said, hey, this is a phishing email. They could have stopped the breach or the incident happening right up front. So people, very critical in the whole grand scenario of information security. Next is the process. So this is standards, policies, and procedures. So this is where the people put the technology in motion, right? So the process is in between the people and technology. So you can have people, you can have technology, but without process, again, technology can fall flat, or the people don't know what to do and how to handle the sensitive information. An example of this would be employee acceptable use policy. So with these, an acceptable use policy would say you can use our technology in your corporation for business use only, limited personal use. Information stays in the business. You can't pick up your laptop or your USB with your trade secrets and walk out the door. If you're leaving an organization, you can't take reports and whatnot into your next firm, things like that. So the procedures and standards are really critical to have. So lastly is technology. Everyone's aware of these. Without information security or without technology, you don't have information security. They go hand in hand. So technology, servers, workstations, tablets, VPNs, firewalls, your applications, databases. They have all sorts of different technology, all sorts of different roles in your organizations, and you want to ensure that the people and the process show the people what they can do with the technology. So you find you'll get yourself into some trouble if you just have the technology saying, it's there, it's our business runs on technology, we don't have any processes around it. That's where mishandling the data tends to happen. So that's people, process, and technology. With that, we'll kick off just another quick poll. Next poll would be on what is the average cost of cybercrime. So we'll give you hopefully under a minute for everyone on this to click on what they think is correct. So what is the average cost of cybercrime? So 10,000, 75,000, is it $500,000? look at average call. This is small, medium, large organizations. So average across, obviously large organization will be higher. So give you another probably 10 seconds or so, and we'll close that one off. Got some good answers there. All right, I think we're done with that. We'll end the poll. And so 60% said 275,000 is the average, which is correct. It's actually 276. And if I felt if I gave the odd number, you would spot it. But yeah, so 276,000 is the average cost of cybercrime in Australia. And really it goes up from there. It could be million to 3. The average is 275. 10,000. If you get away with $10,000 for cybercrime when it happens, you're laughing. So it's the minimum. 275 is again the average. Good. Thanks for the feedback there. We'll go to our next topic. So this is another good one. Data at rest, in motion, and in use. All right. So our myth number 3. Data stays in the same location. So this is, I've heard it time and time again in my career when you're having conversations and it's like, well, why is it so hard to protect data? Just encrypt the data and be done with it, right? So yes, data, if it stayed in the same spot, say, in the picture on the left side here, data at rest, if it didn't move, didn't go in motion, didn't go in use, it'd be very easy to protect. But unfortunately, the day and age with internet and VPNs and really just using the internet shows how data can move. So data definitely does not stay in the same location. It's constantly motion and in use. So data at rest, really easy to protect. You encrypt the laptop or encrypt the server. If it doesn't move, great. You can walk away, have access controls and detective monitoring around that. Be really easy. You can go home and go hit the golf course. But as soon as you start using it, that's where it becomes in motion. So you can put data on a USB drive and literally walk it out the door. That's a form of data in motion. Or if you're working from home and you're using corporate VPN, the data is moving back and forth between your home computer and your organization. That's the data in use. Encrypting that with asymmetric encryption would be a different form of encryption, is how to protect it. But again, data moves around all the time, different forms, home and back, and in your pocket, and on your phone, and all sorts of things. So data is definitely in motion. Data in use happens day to day. This is when you're in the applications. Usually when you're using an application, that's when you're using the data. So web applications, email, databases, and that's where it gets a little bit tricky on, well, not tricky, but this is how you have to think of how to protect the data in use and in motion. What is the critical data? How is it traveling? You want to set the boundaries. Say if it does go into use, who can use it? Who can access what level of data? Say you have confidential data, certain employees or certain people can access that. Public information, say everyone can access that. So you have to identify what your data is, classify it, how it gets used, and then how it travels around. So again, going back to the myth, data definitely doesn't stay at rest. It does usually when you print it out and you put it on the shelf. That data is at rest. It'll stay there forever. But yeah, once you start using it and it puts it in motion and use, and protecting it gets a little trickier. And I think we'll go into the next one, risks of third-party vendors and supply chains. All right. So this is more and more prevalent in this day and age. You have an organization, and often you have third parties. You have potentially your IT's outsourced. You have, say, someone doing your marketing. You have different forms of third parties that potentially have access into your environment, and accessing your data. So you have to look at, you can't just say, yes, hey, we'll give you access into our environment and be on with it. You should be asking questions. What data should they be asking or accessing? How are they protecting your data? So if they have access to your data in their organization, how does your data get protected? Where is your data stored? If anything, say you have a marketing campaign going on, you're sending data to your third party. How do they store it? How do they protect it? Because if they get breached, your data is potentially exposed, or if they get breached, they'll potentially bring exposure into your environment. If they have a VPN set up, really, it's a gateway into your organization. A lot of people these days, the bad actors won't target the large corporations. The bad actors will target the third parties that the large organizations do business with. It's, again, easier way in, less monitoring on the smaller entities. So when you're thinking about protecting your own data, again, you have to look at data at rest, in motion, and use. How is it being used? Where does it go in motion? And how does your third party handle your data? Another question for your third party would be, do they have a security compliance in place? So do they have something showing that they actually protect data at some level, using a framework such as ISO 27001. There's a bunch of different ones, but that's the most common. Another one would be, for your third party, do they go through a background check? An example of this would be, say, bring it back to your home again. So if you have your house, you have a cleaner that comes in, or any third party that comes in, maybe a contractor comes into your house. You're saying that you trust them, but it's the same as if they have a sick day and they give your keys to your house to someone else. Who's that other individual? Do you trust them? Do they go through the same background check? So it's the same for your business. You really have to put your third parties through this risk management. Just going through the slide here, there is more regulatory compliance framework saying third parties, if they're in particular industries, they should be doing certain levels of protection of data. Attacks are definitely increasing on third parties and everyone of the like. You can't just ignore attacks. If you do get attacked, you need to respond and control it and alert. So there is a growing awareness around third-party risk and the governance of your third party. And just today, business is changing. It's everyone's using cloud, big data, the social media. So there is that real heavy reliance on third parties. And along with that, technology is changing. So talking artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, we're so integrated with third-party apps and third-party organizations. You can't really do business without them these days. So you have to look at, especially when your data is involved, how it's being used and where it's going to, and putting some control around that. I think we have our last poll questions. We'll kick that off. So our last poll question is, what is the average time to resolve your cyber risk? So we'll kick that off for you guys, and if you can respond with the correct questions. So is it 5 to 10 days, 10 to 30, 25 to 50, 50 to 100? I'll give you some time with that. I'll give you another 10 seconds. We have some coming in. So far it's looking good. All right, so we'll end the poll there. Oh, you got another one sneaking in, some more sneaking in right at the last second there. All right, so we'll try to end it there. So we have different response, 5 to 10 days. That would be a dream, 5 to 10 day for the average time for cyber attack. 10 to 30. The correct answer is 25 to 50. So I think it's 25 to 51 days is the average time for a cyber attack. So that's upwards of 2 months there. So with your business, say if your business is offline through a cyber breach or cyber attack for 2 months, that's a lot of time. So puts into perspective the impact your organization may go through if they have a cyber attack. All right, we'll move on to the next part. Thanks for your feedback on the polls. Had some good anyway, so move on. So phishing and ransomware. So case study. All right, so a company called Health Financial was targeted in a well-crafted email phishing campaign where one individual clicked on a link and executed ransomware. This brought the company into a panic as their IT department tried to recover the systems and data. Health Financial was offline for 3 weeks and lost 1 week of data prior to the incident starting. Many clients found out by word of mouth and left for competitors when they found out that their data was exposed. This incident left the company wondering what they needed to do to adhere to the Australian regulation CPS 234. We'll just expand this a little bit further. Health Financial, so they're in 2 real critical industries. The CPS 234 says if you're financial institution, if you're taking payments, or if you have healthcare data, or if you're in insurance, you do have to have some levels of protection. Part of that is how do you respond to an incident or a breach. So Health Financial, just by the name, puts them as a real high target. So if Mr. Bad Actor is trying to target a company in the healthcare industry, this company would obviously come up. Or a bad actor is trying to target financial industry, this company would come up. So put some bullseye on their back for a target. And highly regulatory market and sector that they're in. So again, to have this incident happen and a company going, oh, hey, what do we do about CPS 234? That's really, really, really bad. So that's goes against regulation. So so far, this corporation that we're talking about is in a bad spot with this ransomware. Just one more point. So they were offline for 3 weeks when the incident happened. It took 3 weeks. So their backup of the data, I guess, was a week prior to the incident happening. So they actually lost in total 4 weeks of data. And as you can see, the competitors or their clients wanted to go elsewhere, especially healthcare data being exposed. Yeah, be bad news for this company. So we'll move on to the second part of the case study. So this is just kind of a recap of what we've discussed earlier today. So if we're thinking about what happened, what went wrong, we have to look at how to identify, protect, detect, respond, recover to data, all people, process, and technology. So you look at that. So they didn't respond well, recovery is long, detection, could their detection have been better? Protection, looks like their email gateway, so that slipped through, so they would have to look at their technology to see if there's anything that they have to improve around technology. And did they actually identify the critical data that was exposed? So did they say that there's healthcare and financial information that needs to be protected outside of the kind of the user segment? So if there's a staff that clicks on the email and a virus spreads, it shouldn't impact real sensitive data. You should have that segmented off. So there's a lot of different angles that you can look at this scenario. And then people, process, technology. People, was there adequate awareness training in place to say, hey, this is what phishing email looks like, this is what you do. So if they didn't have that in place, this is how we get to a phishing incident, is someone clicking on the email. And then process goes with all the above categories. And technology, I think we already touched base on that. So with that, so these are, on the left side, where did we go wrong? And on the right side, how can we improve? So the list can be quite a bit longer on where did we go wrong. So no risk management, no awareness training, no process or procedures, no recovery strategy, limited protective technology. So again, the email gateway. So the email comes in, goes through a gateway to see if it's a high risk email or not. They're referred to email gateways. So the email gateway didn't exist or was a lower quality. The leader of email gateways could have potentially blocked the phishing email. Again, if you go through, the email gets through and doesn't get blocked, your last line of defense is the people. So the awareness training is key. So that's where all your staff needs awareness training on what to do and how to handle situations such as phishing. Phishing is, again, the number one risk, along with ransomware. All staff should know what to look out for, the indicators and whatnot. So last point here, so the company had limited knowledge on the regulation, such as CPS 234. That's just bad, I guess. With that, that's how you get to all the above points. The result of this incident was high business impact, lost clients, potentially, you never know, could have went out of business depending on how severe it was. Methods on how to improve. Look at all people, process, and technology. Again, going back to those earlier slides, it's not just the technology. So awareness training, putting in procedures and processes and risk management, identifying your data to protect and how to control it, how staff control their day-to-day, responding to a phishing email and whatnot. So again, it's not just about technology at rest, it's about in motion and in use. So when the staff member clicked on the email, that was data in use and in motion, and set out a virus or ransomware. Lastly, align with all appropriate regulations and industry best practices. So real high level examples. Wanted to keep it across the board for the audience. Could have gone a lot deeper into technology, and eyes tend to glaze over if you're not in a technology background. So all good points. Would be happy to hear any comments or further questions. So that rounds out the end of this presentation. This is just a slide on the forensic technology department that I'm a part of. We don't have a cybersecurity slide yet, but we're working on it. So forensic technology shows me a few things what we do, and then our other services. Insurance and risk advisory, business advisory, corporate advisory, financial advisory, consultancy, forensic services, and lending solutions. And cybersecurity is in our forensic services. And that brings us to the end. I guess I'll see if there's any questions. All right, feel free to send some questions to me through the chat. We have a few minutes to go through. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Give you a few seconds to send them over if you have any. We got one that says hackers. Thank you for the comment. And no comments yet. Yeah, if you want to reach out to me through email or give me a call, I'm happy to chat cybersecurity anytime. I thank you for watching and enjoy your day. And again, feel free to reach out and happy to discuss cybersecurity or forensic technology with you anytime. All right, talk to you soon.